Cutthroat, Warbird, or Warroad? What's the difference? Which bike best suits your riding style? I get asked this question a ton, so in this video I'm going to help you decipher all these different drop bar, gravel-ish, bikepacking-ish bikes by Salsa. Welcome back, Pathless Peddlers, and if you're new to the channel, if you're into the non-competitive side of cycling, gravel exploring, bike touring, the supple life, you have found your people. And hey, if you guys like this content and like our take on cycling, consider supporting the channel by joining us on Patreon or by buying a patch, a sticker, or even a supple t-shirt. So I'm in this interesting position where I've had a chance to ride pretty much all the drop bar Salsa bikes for an extended period of time. And I feel like I've gotten to know their innate kind of qualities, their personalities, and what kind of riding situations they best work in. Before we jump in, I am gonna warn you guys, this video is going to have nuance. So if you're the type of person that's like, every bike is a gravel bike, it's all the same, do me the favor and stop watching. So the way I thought I would do this video is, rather than talk about what type of bike they're supposed to be, kind of give you guys my take on their handling characteristics, how the handling compares from bike to bike, and also how the bikes differ in terms of utility. So their ability to carry things. So that way you can kind of decide, and we can talk about the bikes in terms of things other than their supposed classifications. So I'm gonna start off with the Cutthroat. This is a bike that we know well. We've been riding a Cutthroat for the last couple years. As you guys know, we used it as our Dirty Kansas bike, and we've done several bike packing events with the Cutthroat. I think in terms of what makes this unique amongst this threesome of Salsa bikes is the tire clearance. It's probably got the largest tire clearance of the bunch. In terms of handling, it is also the most stable and, in my opinion, the most comfortable. It's got the longest chainstay of all the three bikes. And in terms of the front end, it's got a pretty relaxed geometry. So that means it's fairly stable when you're going on high-speed descents. When you're going down rocky descents, you know, the front end doesn't get deflected and throw you off the trail or anything like that. Its biggest value proposition is comfort. Lots of clearance, lots of utility. It has 3-pack mounts in the front. It's able to carry a rear rack. You do have to get a seat collar to adapt a rear rack to that. So it's a really super capable bike. It's great for rough stuff touring. If you're going on a ride or a tour where the road may start off as, you know, a fairly tame gravel road, but may turn into single track. I think of the three, this is probably the most appropriate bike to tackle that kind of terrain. One reason is because of the geometry really lends itself to being, again, stable and comfortable, but also the massive tire clearance will let you run really big tires. So when you encounter a rock garden or something, the bike will be able to handle it well. I think if you're gonna be riding mostly on dirt, let's say almost 90% dirt and 10% you know, paved road, then this is definitely the best bike of the three. Not that it can't be used as a road bike. You can certainly get some bigger, wider slicks and have it as a road bike. And in that configuration, it will just be super stable and super comfy. Probably ride over rumble strips and not even notice that they're there. So if you want a stable bike that is relatively light, it will help you cover the miles in speed and comfort. And speed not so much in terms of, you know, quick accelerations, but because of its lightweight, just be able to travel further, expending less energy. There is a reason why it's the bike of choice for many a Tour Divide racer. So the next bike I'm gonna talk about is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, and that is the Warroad. I just recently reviewed it, so if you want a more in-depth review of the bike, definitely check out the link up here or over here somewhere. So if the Cutthroat is all about comfort and stability, the Warroad, in my opinion, is all about nimbleness, quickness, climbing really well, and also in relative comfort. Not that it's not comfortable, but compared to the Cutthroat is like a Cadillac, and the Warroad is more your zippy roadster. In terms of utility, it's got a Utilifork, so you can run lowriders on it, or anything cage, and it does specify that you can adapt the rear to take a rear rack. Actually, with all these bikes, it can take a rear rack. None of these bikes have the braze-on to attach the top part of the rear rack. You do have to adapt it with a seat collar. So whereas the Cutthroat is great for 90% unpaved stuff, Warroad, because of its more agile handling, it's better suited for more paved adventures. So let's say you're going on a ride and you're expecting, you know, maybe 70% pavement, 30% unpaved, and of that 30%, it's mostly going to be gravel roads and not super techy single track. then the Warroad is for you. Essentially, think of it as a fat, tired endurance road bike that can also carry things, which is an awesome combination in my book. It really carves the paved corners well, climbs like a mountain goat. I did find because of the more agile front end, it felt a little bit more sketchy to me when descending really rough double track or single track. So if you're gonna be sticking mostly to road of some sort and you want something with a lot of get up and go, then the Warroad is a great choice. And lastly, kind of the Goldilocks bike of the three, and that is the Warbird. So the Warbird's in a really interesting position because it's neither as quick and agile and as good a climber, in my opinion, as the Warroad, but it's also not super stable like the Cutthroat. It really is something in between, and this is nuance. One way to think of the bike is if you took the Warroad and kind of dialed it down a bit so it wasn't as super jumpy and agile, or if you took a Cutthroat and kind of dialed up the responsiveness a little bit. So in some ways it's a Cutthroat light or a slacker Warroad. Does this make sense? I can tell you it's not a cross bike. It doesn't have that really kind of twitchy handling. It's definitely a little bit more subdued than that. All that said, it is a fun and comfortable ride. Definitely a bike that's at home during long paved rides. This makes an awesome, comfortable road bike. It also makes an awesome tourer as long as you're not constantly riding single track with really techie rock gardens or whatever. The Cutthroat would be the more appropriate bike for that. In terms of utility, it's got the same utility as the other bikes. It's got a Utifork up front, and it can also be adapted to take a rear rack. I will say the most recent version is slightly more slack than older versions. We used to have the 2016, and that felt a little bit more cross-like in a lot of ways. And the 2019 version got a little bit more chill, so definitely more differentiation between the current Warbird and the new Warroad. So as you can see, the Cutthroat is pretty well defined. I think the Warroad is pretty well defined. The Warbird is in this kind of awkward middle, but it's actually a pretty awesome bike. I think it's all the road bike a lot of people would need or want, but it's no slouch, and I feel like it can handle a little bit more techier terrain than the Warroad. So again, a Goldilocks bike. So between the three, if we could only choose two of them, one would definitely be the Cutthroat, just because of its ability to take on really rough terrain. And the other would actually be the Warbird. No, it's not as fun a climber or as agile as a Warroad, but it is super versatile. And you know us, we're all about versatility and all-rounder bikes, and the Warbird definitely fits that bill. I think if I were less inclined to do touring and just wanted to hammer out some super long and fast miles, I would lean towards the Warroad. It's a perfect bike for that. Think of it as an endurance road bike that is super comfortable. Let me know what you guys think. Have you guys ridden any of these bikes? Do you guys own one or more than one? Let me know. If you guys have any questions, leave those in the comments below. And if you like this content, please consider supporting the channel. All the links in the description below. And as always, keep the supple side down.